guys, welcome to Blueprint to Wellness. Today I am joined by Dr. Marie Van Der Merwe.
Yes.
Van Der Merwe, it's a W, but you have to think of it as two separate V's, right? That's how I think of it.
Just like a V, yeah.
Just like a V.
Just like a V, yeah.
Just like a V. I've never understood why it was even called W when it's just like two V's.
Yeah, it's just like the non-American way of pronouncing this. Yeah.
I don't know. I have beef with the W. Flip it around. M.
That's right.
So, Dr. Marie, give us a little bit of a background on how you got here, kind of what you study as a generalized field, and just what you enjoy about this field of research in nutrition science, food science.
Okay, so my whole life I've been very interested in, nutrition and wellness.
Yeah.
When I went to graduate school, I was very much interested in the hard sciences, and I was also interested in going into pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
And so my PhD was actually in pharmacology, molecular pharmacology.
Really?
And so I did, chemotherapy for
Right.
cancer, and so I kind of have a cancer background for my PhD. And so as I moved, so during this time, I think I've also, I learned that maybe chemical therapy was not my main interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I did my postdoctoral fellowship, I went into cellular therapy. Which basically means immunology, really.
Right.
And so I went into bone marrow transplantation. And what I really learned there was that the environment that your cells live in really determines how your cells respond. And that actually kind of brought me to this field because what we eat and what we do really determines the internal state of your body.
Your internal environment.
And then that is how your cells respond. And that's kind of, it
Yeah.
can either drive or inhibit chronic diseases. And so that's kind of how I got to, it's kind of like the scenic route.
But it's so cool that you come at this, which I feel like, here we have kind of a more holistic approach to wellness, health, understanding all the components that bring it to you rather than just a pharmacological perspective.
Right.
But it's so cool that you have that, you have that understanding.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was actually, so when I started nutrition, it was really awesome to be able to go back to the very basics.
Yeah.
And then build it up. And I think also, and I teach, even in my teaching, I've incorporated that, and I think the students really enjoy that because they kind of get a more mechanical view of things, and they can understand where things are coming from. So that's what I really like. And then, during the time that I've been here for just over 10 years, and so I've kind of used the same lessons that I've learned in my basic science in the nutrition science.
Yeah.
But what I've also learned is not just the things that we do, right? It's not just the things that we eat and the exercise that we do that affects your internal environment. Like this microbiome, the things
I'm
that we're
about
going
to
to talk
ask you about
today
it.
is like this intermediary step.
Yeah.
And so this really became big over the last 10 to 20 years, 10 to 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Right as I'm in this field. And so I'll talk about this maybe a little bit, but back to this idea of pharmacology, because the microbiome actually acts kind of like a little pharmacy where it makes all these things that's integrated in your physiology.
No way.
Oh yeah.
That is so cool.
So
I mean, I don't want to get too off topic because I know we have our kind of set of questions and stuff like that, but when you say make something, you mean the iron that we get from spinach, your body takes it and it turns it into usable iron?
Not iron. So
Okay.
iron is an element, right? The iron is the iron that comes out of the ground, the same iron that goes in your body. We're not changing that, right? So, but it's the other things. So fiber, complex carbohydrates, these things that we eat, and so we'll talk about more of that.
Yeah.
But we eat them and we have no access to them. It's we can't use them. And so they actually get digested by the microbiome. And by digested, we mean they metabolize them and they make other things
That is
from
so
them.
cool.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Your body takes what you can't use and makes something for you. I think that's just
so
but
the symbiotic relationship between us and these bacteria is really incredible. It's really, it just shows you we've lived together for a long, long, long time. And the new environment that we now live in is very detrimental to this relationship. And so a lot of the chronic diseases are driven by this relationship that's not, at a good point at this time.
It makes me feel sad for the bacteria.
Yeah.
Is that crazy to say? Because
No.
I just imagine them struggling in there with my little Debbies and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should feel sad, and then
guys.
everybody should do the right thing and feed them the right
Yes.
stuff.
Get them your yogurt, your fiber,
Yeah.
your fruits and veggies.
Yes.
Help your bacteria. Okay, so kind of jumping into it, we touched on this a little bit, but I think there's so much confusion around this topic. When people hear the term gut microbiome, it sounds like a buzzword. Mm-hmm. At a basic level, what is the gut microbiome, and why should we think of it as an organ rather than just like a trendy social media word?
So what it is, first of all, right? So we are all covered in bacteria or microorganisms, so all over our bodies. But the most densely populated area is in our intestine, mostly the large intestine. Okay, trillions and trillions of microorganisms live in your large intestine.
Oh my gosh.
And this includes bacteria. It's mostly bacteria, but it also has archaea, fungi, viruses, all kinds of other things. And so,
It's just wild.
So they live there. I mean, they're everywhere, but like really there's a lot of them right there in your large intestine. And I think that's basically what it is, right? And so if you think about it as an organ, so if you think of an organ is a specific structure, your heart, your kidney, and it has a specific function, heart pumps the blood, that helps in some way for my health, right?
Right.
So the microbiome, again, it has specific functions. So for example, it can break down this fiber, and then it makes these molecules, and that's really like the take home from that, is it makes these things that then is integrated, and it has functions. I mean, it really, like when you lose that, you lose the function that comes with that. So it really is an organ.
Yeah.
But unlike our other organs, my kidney, my heart, the cells, those cells have my genome. So they have my genes, right, that I got from my mom and my dad. The genome in your bacteria, so if you look at the collective genome of all the bacteria, it's modifiable, right? So because I can change it by the things that I do. So I have an organ that I can actually alter by my lifestyle.
So like how you can make your heart stronger, you can kind of make your gut microbiome stronger.
Oh, absolutely.
But like, can you go even further? Like, your heart, you can only make it so strong. Like, is there a limit to how strong we can make our gut microbiome?
I mean, so what do you mean by strong, right? So strong means a resilient microbiome that helps you be optimally healthy.
Right.
Right? And if you are optimally healthy, then what else can I do?
Right.
Right? So, I mean, the other thing that you also have to remember about the thing that makes the gut microbiome a little bit complicated to study sometimes, we don't all have the same microbiome. Even if I eat exactly the same food, they're a little different. And so it's like a fingerprint. That's how different we are from each other.
That's crazy.
But people that live together and are in the same environment typically have a closer, together. Like they look more the same in their microbiome. And so, I mean, there's actually in the academic area, there's this, I don't want to say it's a debate, but people talk about this as like, what is the optimal microbiome? Because it's different for you than it is for me, because it's adapted to my genetics and my environment and all my things. And so,
that's so cool.
But the problem is when I mess it up, when I don't have the right things there, is when I start to see, problems. It's like when my kidney starts to have problems, I start to see problems. The same with the microbiome. And we're now learning how some of these, things that's talking to your body, when we lose that, it's affecting other processes.
Yeah. I mean, just the rise in like GI issues alone, like reported GI issues, I feel like that is...
Yeah, I mean, I think, colorectal cancer in younger people now is much more,
The average age is 27.
Yeah, so that's a big problem, right? And so, but it's not just... I mean, of course, the microbiome is right there in your intestine, so of course it has a huge effect on your intestine, right?
Right.
But it has an effect on your liver. It alters lipid metabolism in your liver. It makes neurotransmitters that affects your cognitive function and your nervous system, depression. All these things. Actually, I was just reading a thing that they were talking about that there's a new drug to treat depression, but it's actually a probiotic almost to change your microbiome to treat depression, right? So so this is how it's integrated far more than just your gut.
You said something cool to me a couple of months ago, and I don't know if you remember it, but it was along the lines of everything starts at your gut. Like, you know, every piece of fuel, water, food, whatnot, starts by coming into your gut, pretty much, correct?
Right. I mean,
That's
you're not
interesting,
absorbing
yeah.
food from anywhere else.
No.
This is the place, right? So if this is not working properly, then you have many secondary effects,
Right.
right? So if you have gut inflammation, then you are not absorbing the iron or all the other things that your body also requires for functioning, right? So this has to function properly, and I
Wow.
don't think people really realize how important that is for their overall health. It's not just
Yeah.
it's just gut issues, right? It's overall health.
I also feel like they don't realize that this is something that they can take actionable steps every single day.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something scary or big where you have to go to a doctor and do all these complicated tests. You can just start eating differently,
Yeah.
and it will adapt with you.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a correct
Yes,
kind of
I mean,
mental?
you know, so this is like the reason I really like to study this area, because it feels to me like it gives me so much power
And
over
hope.
my health.
Yes.
Like I can make the decisions and I can change stuff. I'm not dependent on the doctor to tell me to give me this
Or your
medication.
genetics.
Or it's genetics, right? So, but I can make these changes. You can make these dietary changes. Diet is the main determinant
Yeah.
of the microbiome, right? So, but it's not the only thing. So it doesn't, you know, I think one of your questions were, you know, can you still have gut issues if you have a good diet?
Yeah.
Right? So, yes, you can. I mean, there can be genetic things, can be Crohn's disease and, you know,
Right.
all those things. But you cannot out-eat, you know, high amount of stress, no sleep, never exercising, right? So these things, you need them all.
You can't outrun your lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah.
And so those things will also affect the gut microbiome. So just think about this, right? We know that when we stress, you know, you have all these, you know, you feel your stomach is upset, all these things.
Yeah.
So the bacteria that lives in your gut, right? So they live there because the habitat is just right. It's the Goldilocks place for them, right? It's just right. The pH is right.
Yeah.
The amount of oxygen is right. And so, but if I stress, I actually alter the environment. And so the bacteria that I want to live there can't survive.
I kind of want to cry for them. Is that silly? Because, like, I don't know. Sometimes I think people think stress is this passive emotion and it has no effect on your body. But, like,
Oh,
you know,
my
talking
goodness.
to you, like, I realize, like, my little bacteria friends are, like, they're feeling it too.
They're feeling it, and the rest of your cells are feeling it too. Yeah, no, it's a real
sad
thing.
for them.
Yeah, so be kind.
So we already kind of touched on this just over the course of our conversation. That's how I know an episode is going to be great. Like when we just
Talk.
Yeah. And I get so excited. But just to kind of briefly recap, the gut has become such a hot topic in health because everything starts there, right? Is that a correct assumption?
Well, I mean, I don't think we should say everything starts there. I mean, you can
Yeah.
have a heart attack, which is
You could,
completely
yeah.
independent from things, right? But many of our chronic diseases that we now see, you know, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, all these are kind of inflammatory conditions. And the inflammation, a lot of this autoimmune diseases, a lot of this inflammation is what
Yes.
starts at the gut. So if you think of your immune system, about 70% of your immune system is in your gut.
Oh my gosh.
And so if your microbes are not talking to your immune system and keeping them kind of in a, like, you know, in a tolerant state, you're going to have inflammation that triggers all kinds of other things, right? So just to kind of give you an idea about how cool this symbiotic relationship is between the gut and the immune system.
So cool.
So remember, I eat fiber. I can't absorb it in my small intestine because I don't have the enzymes to break it down.
Right.
It makes it down to your large intestine, and now I have thousands of different enzymes that's encoded in my bacteria that can break it down. And so they make these metabolites. There's thousands of different metabolites. But you'll hear a lot of times people talk about short-chain fatty acids. These are really highly studied, and we know they have all these effects. So, but what they can, you know, so it's being made by the bacteria, and then it gets absorbed firstly into the lining of of your gut, basically the enterocytes. They can act as energy, they can be energy, and then they have functions there. But they can also get to the immune cells that's kind of surrounding this tube of your intestine. And if you have the right type of short-chain fatty acids, it actually reprograms your immune cells to be tolerant to the bacteria that made that. Because now I have this positive effect between the two, right? Yeah, it's good you're here because you give me energy, and you're also giving me these other things that kind of helps.
This like blows my mind.
Doesn't it blow your mind?
It's crazy. It's crazy to think how active everything is. You know, because sometimes I think, you know, your intestines, you just assume they have one function, and that is to move things along, right? But they're not. They're not passive at all.
Oh my goodness, no. They're so, I mean, even for absorption of other nutrients, right? So let's just talk about macronutrients, protein, you know, so amino acids, which is the proteins, the fatty acids, which comes from fat, glucose, which is basically the breakdown product of carbohydrates, and then all your vitamins and minerals, they all have very specific transporters. They don't just flood in. They're regulated in how they're being absorbed. And so if you mess up that intestine, and that's even independent from the microbiome, you don't get those things. Plus, the microbiome can make vitamins. If you have the right bacteria, they can make your B vitamins. It's not sufficient. You still need to get it from some other food, but you have a large amount of vitamin K, you know, that you can get from fermentation of the bacteria in your gut. It's so integrated. It's so integrated.
Cool. Yeah. It's so, I don't know, punk rock. It is punk rock.
It is. So I think I'm going to, let me tell you one more thing, which really, when I learned this, is the thing that kind of was like, wow.
I mean, I'm sat right now. I'm sat. I'm loving all this. So you just keep telling me stuff.
Yeah. So, you know, what's the best thing to feed a newborn baby?
Right.
Breast milk. Right? So did you know that a lot, not probably the majority, a lot of the carbohydrates within the breast milk is not accessible to the infant?
Really?
The infant do not have the enzymes to break it down to be able to absorb it. So does that make any sense? It makes no sense, right?
No.
Why? It feeds a very specific group of bacteria in that baby's gut, and then that gets absorbed afterwards. So
that's how long we have had this relationship, because it goes, I mean, we've evolved with them, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And that's why now that we have this new environment that we live in, we get to these diseases because we're taking out pieces like the spark plug and this little thing. You know, we're taking out these things, and the machine is not working properly.
Yeah. It's just all so fascinating, and it's like, it's wild how a lot of this comes back to inflammation, and, you know, that's directly tied to your gut health. And I don't know, it's so cool, and it's a little overwhelming, but it also gives me hope. You know?
It's absolutely. I mean, I think, like, if you can understand this, like, I think when people understand something, it's much easier to make the shift.
And I mean, even just understanding that the gut should be such a primary focus when thinking about your wellness, I think even that's just enough, because now, you know, when I go home and I'm like, oh, shoot, I have to eat my kale. Now I'm going to be a little bit inspired. I'm like, you know what? I'm feeding my gut.
Absolutely.
I'm feeding her.
Yeah.
That arugula, I actually love arugula, but I don't like kale. I don't like bok choy, anything like that. But now I have this like renewed sense of purpose, because my little bacteria, they need them.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not, you know, I think lots of people don't like certain things and then don't eat it. There's lots of fruits and vegetables, right? And it really is, you should not focus on one thing. So how we know we have a healthy gut really is diversity.
Yes.
The more diverse your gut microbiome is, the healthier. This seems to be like the measure, right? So, like, because every single time we have a disease, we have like this loss of diversity.
Right.
So yeah, so you want to have it as diverse, and the way that you keep it diverse is by eating many unique plants.
Colors.
Many plants. Yeah, so many different things, because each of these, we think of fiber. It's not.
No.
every plant, the fiber in each plant, that complex carbohydrate in each plant, is very different from the other one.
Really?
Yeah, so they have all these chains and they have all, so that is why the bacteria have so many different enzymes to break down. So a specific
so
group of
cool.
bacteria will break down the ones that's in kale. The other group of bacteria will break down the ones in your celery.
Yeah.
The other ones. And so by doing that, you're feeding all these different groups. And then you also cross feed. So the bacteria feeds each other by making, so it's this really complex community, and the relationship between the things, the food, the bacteria, and then, the things that come into, gets absorbed into your body. But yeah, it really is like the more diverse it is, the more diverse your bacteria is. And that really is kind of, it seems to be that's like the connection to health. And the thing that makes it really good, so it outcompetes bad things.
Yeah.
Like if something comes up, it outcompetes like we use bad bacteria. I kind of hate that word, but things that will make you sick, pathological bacteria. But I have a whole army of different things, and they can all outcompete it all the time, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, you're not making the disease smaller, you're making yourself stronger.
I mean, and then the more consistently you do this, you get a very resilient microbiome. So you can do Christmas, like we just did 2 weeks of Christmas and ate all kinds of things. And, I feel kind of bad. I picked up a pound.
Right.
But, I stopped this, and 2 weeks later, everything's back to normal because I have a resilient microbiome.
Because it bounces back. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. And just to touch lightly, because I always love to just give people something that they can take away. One thing I've been hearing on TikTok is 30 different plants per week. Is that like a great measure of diversity?
I mean, it came from, people like a number. And so it's a fine number. But it came from the Gut Project, did this study, it's now many years ago, I can't remember exactly the year what they did, but they looked at, I think it was 10,000 different people in the United States, I think it was the UK and Australia, and they collected stool samples, so they looked at their microbiome, they had blood markers, I think, and then they also looked at their diet. And what they saw in these people, the people that had about 30 different unique plants per week had a really nicely diverse microbiome. And so that's actually where that number came from. It was from the study. It doesn't mean that you have to eat 30 different things all the time, but it kind of gives you, it also gives you like over a week. You don't have to eat 10 things today, right? It's over a week. Today maybe I just eat broccoli, but tomorrow I eat like a salad that has a whole bunch of stuff in it, right? I also think something to remember, that's also including herbs.
I know. I love that. So my little oregano and my onion seasoning, it counts.
Yeah, so all those things kind of count, right? So it really is, so, it's just the more you can put in there, the better, So just plants. I just like plants forward, right? Whatever meal you eat, kind of just include whole plants, right? Try to reduce, the things that really affect the microbiome is like high amounts of fat, high amounts of sugar that makes it there. Like sugar gets absorbed in your small intestine, right? And so if you eat a highly processed diet, for example, all of that stuff gets absorbed in the small intestine, and really nothing makes it through to the large intestine.
Oh gosh.
So you're starving them. There's basically nothing that they can eat.
And they're sad.
I mean, they die. They're not. Yeah, I mean, it's just like a bacteria in a petri dish. If I don't feed it, it's gonna die, right? And so
that's true.
And so, I mean, in that case, a lot of times when you actually lose things, you have to take a probiotic to kind of reseed.
Really?
But you don't have to take a probiotic forever. You seed and then you feed. So prebiotics is the way that you want to kind of keep your garden growing, right?
I do love those Olippops.
Yeah.
They're full of prebiotics.
Well, I mean, all the fruits and vegetables, they're prebiotics. Yeah. All these things, people want to give like a supplement the name prebiotics, right? But it's just all the fruits and vegetables, all the fiber, all the grains that you eat. These things are all prebiotics because it feeds your microbiome.
That is just so cool. And I actually kind of have a follow-up question because I know I just, in fact, learned something new. Prebiotic versus probiotic.
Okay.
What is the difference? I thought prebiotic came before the probiotic. So, I'm not a scientist.
So, but I mean, that means means before, right? But so probiotic is the bacteria.
Okay.
So the definition, if it is a bacteria that lives in your gut that promotes health. That's kind of like the definition of a probiotic. It is the live bacteria.
So you don't need to be drinking probiotics every single day.
No, like, I mean, you don't have to take a probiotic. So once you've cultivated, the thing that sometimes is difficult, a lot of the probiotics that we take don't actually stick very well in your intestine.
Really?
So like they don't want to grow. And so sometimes people actually, so I mean, I can just go the definitions of a probiotic and a prebiotic. So, probiotic, so it is the live bacteria that you can ingest that lives in your gut. So probiotics, we think of supplements that have probiotics in them. We now have, like you said, the drinks that have probiotics, kombucha that have probiotics. And we have lots of foods that's, sauerkraut and kimchi and all these things, it has probiotics in it. So I am a big believer that you actually have to eat your probiotics. And if you can eat it every day, the better. Actually, so there was a really good study showing that eating probiotics is even better than just eating fiber every day. So it really has a more beneficial effect for your immune system.
And I love sauerkraut.
Yeah, me too. I eat
like
it for
some
breakfast.
Flavored sauerkraut. Oh my gosh, on like toast with like a fried egg. Oh, it's so good on top of it.
Really
it's
good.
delicious with some spicy mayo.
Yeah,
You can combine it with an avocado for your fiber.
There you go. You got it, right? So you're feeding your bacteria should be very happy. So, and then the avocado would be your prebiotic.
Oh my gosh. So prebiotic means just the stuff that feeds your probiotic.
It feeds the probiotic, absolutely. That's all it is. And now you also hear in the future, I think you'll hear about postbiotics.
Okay, now what are these?
So postbiotics are these metabolites that the bacteria makes. So they use the prebiotics, they metabolize them, the probiotics metabolize the prebiotics, and they make postbiotics.
Is this something that people could expect to be sold as like supplements?
So it's starting. There are studies that are using them to see if it's working. For me, the problem with that is I don't know how well it's packaged, how well it gets absorbed. I mean, it goes to my stomach.
Right.
So why not just feed it the prebiotic and then make my own?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of having to do this. But yeah, actually people are studying that and seeing if it can be helpful, yeah.
That is so fascinating. I feel like we've got like the insider scoop. Now we all know something. So one of my questions too is like when we talk, and we briefly touched on this, but when we talk about gut health, what are we actually measuring or observing from a scientific standpoint?
Yeah,
like it's not a number.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a vague thing, right? People talk about gut health all the time. So I think, gut health, in my opinion, has two components. And one is the intestine itself. And when the intestine is not healthy, one of the things that happens is that you have permeability. You get gut permeability.
Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good.
No, it's not good, right? So if you think about this as a tube, you want that tube to have cells that sits very tightly so that your bacteria that floats around here cannot cross over and get into your blood.
No.
And that's exactly what happens. You get gut permeability and you move pieces of the bacteria. So lipopolysaccharide, for example, is one of the things that can move through. And it gets through and then activates your immune system. And this is where the inflammation comes from that we talk about all the time, right? So gut permeability and inflammation kind of goes together, these two things.
This is wild. That is so, it's also interesting to me. Like, you truly can see how your body is functioning. Like,
absolutely.
How you do it.
Absolutely. And so some of these metabolites actually that's being made, they signal to these cells to actually make tighter junctions between the cells to form a tighter bond. They also,
that is cool.
We don't want the bacteria to sit on top of the cells, right? So even though if you think about, so we have a nice mucus layer that's lining, just like on your eyes, right? Or in your throat, right?
Yeah.
Like a lining so that mucus layer is really, 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 really important. Good fences make for good neighbors.
Right.
So bacteria is kind of away.
Fences make for good neighbors. That's genius.
Yeah. And so the bacteria that's over there, some of this bacteria will also induce the mucus formation. So the things that they make, and so they actually are really important for this barrier function of your gut.
Yeah.
So gut health, to me, that's part of it, this whole permeability, not having permeability, because that drives the inflammation, and so then you have the inflammation. So inflammation and permeability kind of on the person's side, and then on the microbiome side, what we'll say is dysbiosis. And that just means that kind of the balance between the more pathological and the more kind of the bacteria that's health promoting is off.
Oh.
Right? And so you start having bacteria that uses fat, for example, and make all kinds of other metabolites that's actually not beneficial to your health.
Now I'm like thinking of all the different experiences I've had like throughout different periods of diets in my life, where in college I was probably not being very mindful of what I ate, and I'm like, you know, that probably makes sense why I was getting sick more often, you know?
Yeah. Like it really, it's like and what you want to do is like you want your barrier function to be so nice, and you want your microbiome to send these signals, and you want your immune system to be always kind of tolerant and in this kind of state of relaxation until they're needed. Until they're needed, right? The moment that virus or the moment that whatever bacteria actually makes it into your blood, you need it to get activated and get rid of that thing.
Right, because like much like you, if your immune system is constantly, you know, looking over their shoulder, stressing out, that's not good for us as people, but it's definitely not good for your immune system, because then it can't function.
So when you have this constant inflammation coming from this low-grade inflammation coming from your immune system is like, oh, there's danger somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is, and so it's not
freaking
like
out
optimally.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why, you know, I think even with COVID, what we saw was like people with type 2 diabetes, right, and obesity were at much higher risk of COVID because their immune systems were so kind of activated already.
All the time stressing out. Yeah, that's interesting. And does the same logic apply to like diseases like cancer and stuff like that?
So cancer is also inflammatory. So one of the things that happens in this inflammatory condition is that your surveillance, like your immune surveillance, is not optimal anymore. And immune surveillance is critically important to get rid of any cell that's becoming cancerous. Every single day as we're sitting here, we have cells that have mutations that can become a cancer.
Yeah.
But my immune system, if it's working really well, will get rid of it. So it surveys and it gets rid of it. But in this state of inflammation, we're actually losing this capability of surveillance, and you actually have a higher risk of cancer. So that's, again, why obesity, this is the link between obesity and a higher rate of cancer. I think there's 7 or 8, I can't remember, different cancers that's increased.
Because obesity is so tightly linked to inflammation, correct?
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
And it comes that obesity is coming from the inflammation from obesity comes from different things. It's not just the microbiome and gut permeability. If you have, we call it hypertrophied, like really big fat cells, adipocytes, those cells become stressed and they send out stress signals. Your immune system goes there as if it's something that they need to attack. And those macrophages, the M1 macrophages, then makes a lot of inflammatory molecules.
Because obesity can cause your cells to stretch out, correct?
Well, obesity is you have to store the excess energy, right? And
somewhere,
And we store excess energy as fat. So fat is like the optimal energy storage for a molecule because it contains. So if you take a gram of fat and a gram of carbohydrates or protein, fat has the most calories. Right?
Right.
And so it makes the most sense for a gram of fat. I want to store calories. I will store it as fat. Right? And so my body's so intelligent that it stores it as fat in my adipocytes, right? And so I have specific areas there. I can store it. I mean, even in my liver, I have some space for some, and we can store subcutaneous. You know, we have subcutaneous fat where we store some. The problem is like when we have so much like energy that we need to store. And we start to store it in this fat that we call visceral fat that sits right in your around your organs.
Yes.
It starts to make a lot of inflammatory molecules.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to briefly touch on that because I feel like a lot of people think you're at higher risk of cancer when you have obesity because you have more cells, which I'm sure is also the case, but.
Yeah, no, it's not the case. It's just like it really is like you lose this ability to survey, but then you also have this inflammatory state, like once the cell is cancerous. So for example, so if I am now, let's say I'm obese and I'm insulin resistant. So obesity and insulin resistance or kind of that leads to type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
Those two things go together, right?
Right.
And so insulin is kind of a growth hormone. And so when I'm insulin resistant, my insulin is high all the time. And so when I have that cancer cell that has the mutation that now has the ability to grow, I also have things like glucose and insulin and all these signals that drive growth.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right, so I'm
It's
driving
so cool.
so again, the internal environment
Yeah.
is driving a specific. I mean, there's nothing strange about the cell. The cell is just doing exactly what the program is telling it to do, but it has like a switch that's changed, right? So I'm driving it.
Right.
So yeah, so it is.
It's freaking out.
Well, I mean, it's not really freaking out. So there's something went wrong, and the brakes are not working.
Right.
But there's so much gas that I'm
Yeah.
not slowing down. It's just pushing it forward.
It's just, I could talk to you about this all day. It's just so cool. It is so cool. And I just keep coming back to the point like that there's so much hope. Because I think when you think about wellness and health, and especially in today's environment of food and living, it can be so depressing.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, what do? You know, we often don't have access to like as much fresh food as we used to. And even the food that we do have that's fresh doesn't have the same nutrients as it used to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so beautiful to think about the fact that we can adapt this organ inside of our body to help us. And it just, I love that there's hope.
I mean, and I think the hope comes from the knowledge, right? Because I think, 10, 15 years ago, we didn't understand how all these things
Yes.
worked. And now that we understand, we can make very intelligent decisions about the products that should be in the grocery store,
Yes.
right? The policies that we're developing, the school lunches that should be out. We can now make much more intelligent decisions about those things because we understand how the system works.
That is
And
so cool.
yeah, I think it's awesome. But I mean, again, to me, I often tell my students, I understand, the farming practices, it changes the nutrient content, and it changes, there's all kinds of, pesticides. We talk about all these things, but going from eating a Twinkie to an apple, you have a 99% improvement, right there.
That is so true.
And then if you go from a Twinkie to an organic apple, because this is oftentimes the argument, like it's too expensive. That last 1% of improvement that you're getting from apple to organic apple, it's 1%.
Yeah.
You could have gotten the 99%. And hopefully we'll work on getting everybody to the organic apple at one point in time, right? But we're not there yet. But so don't use that as an excuse
Yeah.
to not do the thing that you can do right now, because you have the ability. Yeah.
You do have the ability. And I love what you're preaching. It doesn't have to be the most perfect option out there. If you're just making a better choice for your body, you're doing so much. So much.
I mean, and actually I want to say one thing about this, so health, people always say healthy, it's so expensive to eat healthy, right? I live on beans and lentils, and these things are so affordable, and your microbiome loves them.
Yes.
Right? So here we just heard we have to eat more protein. This is a great way to get your more protein.
Lentils are 99 cents at Trader Joe's.
Yeah, no.
79 at Kroger.
Yeah, no, I mean it's there's definitely ways, but we all have to be educated in how to do this, what we need to do, why we need to do this, right? Yeah.
You know what I love to do? I love to blend up my lentils and then I mix them in. Like if I want mac and cheese one day, I mix it in with mac and cheese and you can't taste it.
Yeah.
But it's like an extra little boost.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fiber and the protein that you get there is awesome. Like there's so many small things. I mean, and people, same thing, people say, oh, eating healthy, it's like, it tastes horrible. No, it doesn't have to be. It's just because people have a perception about things.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, in real honesty, you just have to go back to the basics and eat whole foods.
I'm glad beans and lentils are getting or beans and legumes are getting their spotlight. They deserve more spotlight. I think they're delicious.
I agree. Yeah.
I think they're fantastic. And I think people who eat a lot of beans and legumes are just the prettiest, smartest people in the world. That's just me, though. So kind of segueing just a little bit, I do want to touch on some of the new standards that we have for eating. One of them, and it's very hot on social media right now, so that's why I'm asking, one of them is like processed meat. Mm-hmm. What even is processed meat, and why is it so bad for you? Because people are particularly freaking out about like nitrate smoke. And it's confusing.
Yeah, so
Deli meat, I should say.
Yeah, so processed meats are bacon, hot dogs, deli meat, all these things, right? Anything that's highly processed.
It's terrible.
Highly processed meat. And so, I mean, it's not the meat itself. It's the processing of the meat that's actually causing there to be all kinds of toxic compounds in them. And we know that those compounds can act as mutagens, so they can cause mutations in your. And so I think like these processed meats, the cancer that's mostly associated with it is colorectal cancer.
Really?
So in the intestine. And so these compounds, again, this is the first cells that you have that they have access to, and so they cause DNA damage, which causes cancer, right? So this is why they are considered a carcinogen.
But is it every deli meat? Like if I go to the farmer's market and I get my favorite sausage from a local farmer and it's very farm to table, is that still a carcinogen?
So what's that saying? The poison is in the dose. I can't remember. So here's the thing. I have given my kids hot dogs.
Yeah.
Do we eat hot dogs every single day? No. Right?
Yeah.
But I have made sure that we have a resilient microbiome and a healthy gut. And then we can kind of handle that. So
that is genius.
So you have to create the healthy environment. Yes. And then having the hot dog every now and again, go to the ball game, eat the hot dog, it's not going to kill you. But it's the thing that we do consistently. If you eat hot dogs 4 days out of the week, and no fiber, and you drink Coke, and and all these things, you're messing up the environment, and so you just have a much higher risk of having this thing cause something really bad. So that's where that is coming from. So it's not like I eat this once a month. I go buy my get something from the farmer's market and eat it. I mean, I buy it from Kroger and we eat hot dogs, and it's every now and again. It's not a
It's about strengthening up your body enough to be able to take these little things in stride.
Right.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, we live in the world.
It's inspirational.
Right? We live in the world.
Yes.
So you have to be strong enough to handle the world.
Yes. I love this. And now I feel less guilty about all the hot dogs I am definitely going to eat on 4th of July.
Oh, my. Okay.
I can't resist. It's too good. So just to close us out, for someone hearing all of this for the first time, which I hope there are many people who are hearing this for the first time and are going to go out and make some changes in their life. That is my hope. But for somebody hearing it for the first time, what is the most important thing to understand about the gut's role in long-term health? Just something they can take away.
So the thing that I would say is know that your gut is a modifiable organ. It means it can respond to what you do.
Yeah.
And it gives you an enormous amount of power. You make the decision, right? That. But you have to stay consistent.
Yeah.
It's not a thing that you do Monday and Tuesday and then again, 2027. You have to be consistent. The microbiome does not change overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, it will fluctuate with diets. In 24 hours, I can eat sushi and then I can eat a salad and it will fluctuate. But if you want a complete change, it really takes months.
Yeah.
For it to create this new garden, right? And then you just have to feed it the prebiotics. Yes. Prebiotics, to me, the prebiotics is the most important thing. I mean, fruits and vegetables all day long, whole grains, stay away from ultra-processed food is really poison for your gut. Yeah. It really is poison for your gut. It's easy. It's not really that complicated. And so just eat whole foods as much as possible, and you're good.
Shop the perimeter, as Dr. Bloomer says.
It's really all about, just stay away from all the stuff in boxes, right? So all the things that you don't recognize. What is this? How did it have this green color that's not really a natural color, right? So it is, So, I mean, I think, and then have grace with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, if today you feel like I want to go have my milkshake or whatever it is that makes you happy, do the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Acknowledge it, move on.
Yep.
But make your gut as resilient as possible to handle whatever's coming your way.
I feel like kind of pumped up.
Good.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a warrior.
You should.
I hope that people out there are listening to this and are feeling hope and are feeling excitement for the fact that they have an organ in their body that is in their control.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. That's exactly what's right. And so, you know, how cool is that?
It is so cool.
Yeah.
It is so cool. It's so cool. And, you know, it is determined by genetics a little bit, as you kind of touched on. But, like, for the most part, like, it's ours. It's a blank canvas. Hopefully it's not a blank canvas. But
yeah, and let me just say, actually, genetics have a very, very small effect on your microbiome. So they did these twin studies where you would think genetics is exactly the same. But if you change diet, the microbiome changed. So diet is still the main determinant.
And so cool. Well, I'm going to go eat my lentils tonight.
Yay!
Thank you for joining us and thank you for your time.